How you doing? And thanks for tuning in to Wicked Warnings, your number one source for construction and emergency safety strobe lighting equipment for cars, vans, buses, bicycles, tricycles, jet skis, unicycles, wave runners, electric vehicles, and very nice 2022 Super Duty F350 Lariat trimline pickup trucks like you're going to look at right now. What you're looking at in the front there is our auto flasher kit on the front turn signals as well as the front DRL. It is our plug and play white mirror light spot flasher on those forward-facing white spotlights on the mirrors, as well as our auto flasher kit for the cab clearance lights. We also have below that, back-mounted in the bezel of the fog light, a low dome HAW Duo, our Hideaway Duo, in green. This particular client come all the way from Michigan to have the work done. I want to give a shout out. I appreciate that. He asked for a taste of green in his install, so we gave him just a little bit. We're utilizing 4 auxiliary switches for this particular build. I hope you can make out those rear TIR3 in green underneath the tail light on the sides, as well as those Thin X amber and white in the side badges. There's a little closer view. Now those side badges are set on switch number 3 to flood white, as with the rear SS3 floodlights we've added, so when he puts the rear spotlights on, those side badges will also flood white. This is an angle that shows you just how bright those Thin X are in the side badges. They work exceptionally well for rearward warning from the front tires back. Here you can see how that TIR3 underneath the side edge of the tail light there is very effective for when you're backing out perpendicular to traffic. This vehicle will have a snowplow, so it'll do a fair share of backing out at a 90-degree angle to oncoming traffic. That is where that TIR3 on the side of the tail light is really going to shine, as well as the badge light here. Now, to further complement that taste of green, we did a 15.5-inch Thin X strip on each side underneath the tailgate in green and white, and we selected the most aggressive pattern that is available for the green and white combination color. Above that, we have our auto flasher kit, no-cut kit on the rear turn signals, as well as the rear reverse. They're synchronized to do an X pattern on a triple flash. And above that, in the tailgate handle, as well as the cargo light, those are both being flashed by our Cargo Light Auto Flasher Kit. The third method of install is how you achieve that flash. That includes the tailgate, and that involves cutting a single wire on the passenger kick panel. Here's an off-axis view of the rear. And here's a little off-axis view of the front. As I said, these are all being controlled off of auxiliary switches 1 through 4. The switch combination that we chose, you don't need to do exactly the same, but the way we did it was the headlight DRL and turn signal are on switch 1 by themselves. So you can turn those off while you're snow plowing if they become annoying bouncing off of the snow plow. So as you can see, if you just do switch 1, all you're going to run into is the headlights there. It's just kind of cool too. If somebody cut you off in traffic, you could just hit switch 1 and probably scare the crap out of them. Now, I don't condone doing that, so disclaimer, don't go getting yourself in trouble and tell them it was me that said to do it. Now, the other request we had on this truck, which again, you don't need to repeat, was to keep the green on its separate switch. So this is switch number 2. It's running the auto flasher roof lights. I also popped on that plug and play white mirror light just for the heck of it, and it's running the side badge lights. Now around the back, it's running the cargo auto flasher as well as the auto flasher kit on the reverse and the rear signals. That is switch number 2. Now, switch number 3 is what we're using for their green and white. They've got some 15.5 green-white Thin X strips underneath that tailgate there in a real fast green-white pattern, as well as those TIR3 in green that are on the side of the tail lights, and you can see them bouncing off the wall right there, doing a good job. See how much light's really thrown by one of those TIR3s. Those are included in the green switch. Here's what that looks like. I'll drop this down a little bit. You can see the undergate lighting. Now you can also see that green low dome HAW Duo in that front fog bezel. This is one of my favorite things to do on these Super Duties, is actually to put a light in that front fog bumper and a light under the side tail light. I like doing that because, as you can see, it gives you a very clear picture of just how long and wide this truck is from the side. So at nighttime, if you're out there and you need some warning, you want to have a clear indication of the front and the end of the vehicle. And this is what gives you that, a light at the farthest forward and farthest rearward point. This is the green switch, again, switch number 3. Alrighty, I've dimmed the lights just to show you a little bit, but given that this is a plow truck, we went ahead and added a pair of SS3 by Dial Dynamics to the rear underneath the bumper, but we also tied the flood feature of our Thin-X on the side badges into that same 4th switch. So switch number 4 will light the under bumper floodlights in the rear, as well as these 2 badges to give you some side illumination. Now here's a reflection off the wall on the passenger side of this truck. You can kind of see just how much light that Thin-X is throwing. It's not strobing, that flickers just the way the camera's picking it up. I've got the ISO turned quite a bit up here. I can turn it down and you'll see more and more of the actual light output. But you can see here, even with the ISO up at 800 right now, we're getting a good output of that light from the side badge to illuminate the whole kind of back corner of the truck. And of course, there's those powerful SS3 Dial Dynamics floodlights. We mount them right on the hitch. I've got some still shots of that are going to be in this video as well. And here's a good shot of how much light they're putting out. This is approximately 30 feet-ish from the back of that truck. I've gone into fisheye mode here. You go about 25, 30 feet from the truck to the door, and it's about 12 feet wide, 15 feet wide there. So has no problem illuminating what I would say to be equal to about a 4-car, 2 cars deep, 2 cars wide area behind the truck. Easily able to illuminate every bit of a 2-car garage as you were backing up to it. So you get an idea of the amount of light that's going to be behind this truck, usable, workable light. And definitely very, very nice for if you're backing up a lot as a snowplow. And alrighty, we're going to start the technical portion of the video right now. I hope I don't bore you to tears, but I'm going to kind of go over how it's wired. So I'll give you all the info I have. I'm doing this more now on my builds because once the truck goes away, it's gone. And I want to go over everything I can now. So this is our vault of information. All right. So as far as the auto flasher kits for the headlight and the front turn signal, the way they're sold is a no-cut kit where you swap the wire in the factory connector. If you'd like a plug-and-play adapter for behind the headlight, we have those. It's an additional purchase. We're going to link to those. They're optional. They make the job faster, but they're not required. So if you want them, add them. If you don't want them, delete them. Below that, we've got our low dome in green Haw Duo. Now I just drilled a 1-inch hole, mounted that from the back. I glued it in place with black RTV silicone, and it sticks really nicely. Of course, you want to clean the back of the plastic before you glue on it. But if you glue that in there, let it dry overnight, it is not going to come out. We ran the long duo wire this way, the short duo wire from this side. We left the plugs right back here behind the fog light headlight area, so it's easy to unplug if the bumper ever had to come off. And we mounted the brain for the duo here, and it was enough to reach up to get to the auxiliary switch. So you really don't need much on the duos except the duos themselves. You might need a small 24-inch piece of wire to extend it, depending on what you're doing there, but we're not going to put that in. We're just going to put the duos in there. Right above it on our white mirror lights, that's a plug-and-play unit. It plugs in under the dashboard. There's nothing more I can say about it. You don't need any wire. It plugs in. If it takes you longer than 10 seconds to do that install, you're doing something wrong. Right above that, we've got our cab clearance light auto flasher. The way you see it flashing now, all 5 lights together. That's a very easy install, done right under the passenger A pillar. That currently is a wire cut. However, plug-and-play adapters are coming very soon for that. So they might already be in place by the time this video hits the website. If you want to interlace the roof lights, meaning you want to alternately flash 2 of the 5 and then 3, so it flashes 3 by 2 by 3 by 2. Yes, our kit can do that. It does require a little more labor. You will need to drop the visors and the headliner and get in there, but the kit will have all the wire you need to take care of it. So you can do it either way, the fast way under the A pillar, or get involved underneath the headliner. Now, if you go under the headliner, it is a wire cut. We do not have the plugs for all the lights individually yet, but that may also be changing. We're adding plugs every week, so stay tuned. We might just have those plugs very soon. Side of the truck, we've got our Thin-X in the badges. We got an awesome video I'm going to link again right now to how those badge lights install. We're going to give you 25 feet of 22-5. That's going to extend those Thin-X from the side badges right over to the auxiliary switches, where you can dictate your function, flood, synchronizing. Any of those features will be available right there. Now, around the back of the truck, we have an auto flasher cargo light kit. That's going to come with everything you need to do that cargo light. As I said on a different video, if you want to flash exactly as you see here, being that you're flashing the whole light together with the tailgate handle, that is done by cutting a wire on the passenger sill. That is the only way to do that particular modification at the time. If you interrupt this cargo light behind the cargo light up at the roof, you do not get access to control the tailgate light, the center light in the middle of the tailgate. That's how that works. But that kit comes with everything you need to do either style, so you won't need to do anything special with that. Below it, we have our auto flasher kit for the rear turn signal and rear reverse. That's exactly the same as the front. It's going to come as a wire swap, no cut kit, where you're going to switch one of the wires in the factory connector for the reverse and another wire for the signal. However, if that isn't suitable to you, we have the plug and play adapters for the rear tail lights also. They're an add-on. They're not entirely necessary, but we do understand the convenience that they bring. So if you'd like to add on the plug and play adapters for the tail lights, you may. Below that, we have our 15.5 green-white Thin-X strips, as well as TIR in green. Now, below that, we have our floodlight, our SS3 by Dial Dynamics flood work white lights. So the SS3 lights by Diode Dynamics, we're going to give you an extension of 16.2. And the way I ran those lights is I ran the 16.2 from the driver's light right over to the passenger light. I then daisy chained, jumped with the long length and ran it straight forward up the frame to the auxiliary switches. Now we're going to give you 50 feet of that 16.2 because you're going to need a little bit of extra, and you might have a little bit extra. No big deal on that. Now to run the lighting, the green lighting, we're going to give you 30 feet of 18.5 to go from the Thin-X strips and the joint of the TIRs and the Thin-X strips forward. Okay. The auto flasher kits come with everything you need, so we don't need to supply anything else. But to control the Thin-X strips, we're going to run a 30-foot piece of 18-5 forward. And then we're also going to supply another 25 feet of 22-5 to extend the TIRs on the side. That way you can synchronize the TIRs in the same location that you joined up the Thin-X strips, probably behind the license plate, up there tucked up behind the spare tire. I like to remove the spare tire when I do that, and I put all the wiring tucked up nice behind the license plate up under the bed. And at that point, you can mine it down to the 18.5 and run that forward. The 18.5 will give you the option to take advantage of the flood mode in the Thin-X strip if you'd like. We did not use it, but the Thin-X strip does have a flood mode, so you'll be able to take advantage of that with that. We're also going to give you some heat shrink, some uninsulated connectors to make your connections nice and easy and waterproof. We're going to give you 4 fuse kits. You can edit any of this at any time. Keep that in mind. But we're going to give you 4 fuse kits for the auxiliary connections. I like to fuse that down, make it nice and safe. And then we'll throw some zip ties on this order as well, just to make sure you can tie off all your wiring and keep it nice and tidy. So I think I covered it. Thanks for sticking with me. I hope I didn't bore you to death. As I said, I'm going to throw some pictures at the end of this video too. This is the big, long, in-depth video. This is all I have on this truck. It's going to go home to Michigan. It's going to live its life happy up there. And I do, again, want to say how much I really do appreciate when my out-of-state clients put their faith and trust into me. The particular instruction that I got with this one was very light and just basically was told I like a taste of green and a mostly amber white package that'll work good for snow plowing and construction. And other than that, he let me have a little bit of creativity and freedom on this, which I can't say how much I appreciate. I think the best customers and the best jobs come from when I'm told, here's my budget, here's a few ideas, do what you do best and figure it out. So if that's something that seems good for you, bring it on down and I'll do it. Thanks again for watching Wicked Warnings, your number one source for construction and emergency safety strobe lighting equipment for all kinds of cool stuff, including the 2022 Super Duty Lariat F350, just like we see here. We'll see you guys in the next video. If I missed anything, drop a comment. I'll do my best to give you the info and try to answer any questions.